Hey there, Maria back with another video. It's 5:09 p.m. It is July 1st. I cannot believe, oh my God, we're like halfway through the year already. It's crazy. I was just thinking, today, July 1st, I don't know how many years it would be, but my parents, James Gordon and Mary Gordon, they got married on July 1st, 1959. They would have been married a long, long time. I think about how long ago that was, and it's just like, oh, it was crazy, And then now you add the whole C.V. Braganza thing in. Apparently, my dad got married to my mom 3 years after C.V. Braganza committed suicide. So the timelines are so important to me, and I'm just finding out so much. And anyway, so I wanted to come on here and make a video. I've just been kind of hanging around this morning. I've got a lot of things I want to do, but I've just been like tuning myself in, getting intuitive messages. Now, these are not anything specific to any celebrities today, or but basically, I'm just kind of tuning into what people are saying about me, what's going on in my environment. And the reason why is because I don't socialize. Okay, I've explained before that I know, like, right after, actually, for the last few years before working at Murray Family Farms, it seems like people were ringing my phone up a lot. And then after Murray Family Farms, slowly but surely, I stopped communicating with people. But right after that whole blow up at Murray Family Farms, I do remember a lot of people trying to contact me, but I started putting things together like, wait a second, that shit happened at Murray Family. Are these people involved in it? I was trying to figure out who was who, but like I didn't think like anyone more than my family and my people that I used to know were involved in it. But anyway, um, that's not the point. The point is that, um, oh shit, what was I talking about? Me, me, coming here and making this video, actually. But anyway, I'm sorry. I think I lost my train of thought. I've been very busy putting content together, but I have been thinking about, just going back in time and feeling just agitated, and knowing that I was dealing with, being targeted, and it was freaking me out badly because, I kept thinking, what in the world? Why would my family do something like this? To me, anybody playing with your job, your ability to take care of yourself is like, what is wrong? To me, it's like, what is wrong with you, right? So, it freaked me out, and it was like, it literally just shattered me, right? And I know that I was being like heavily targeted, heavily like mocked. I felt like people were mocking me and trying to like belittle me. This is the energy that I was getting, and I could not understand why. But it was very sick and very dark and very twisted. The energy that was around me, like really twisted. And all I can say is that I've been persecuted for very many years, and I just feel like a lot is affected the way that I see things, and sometimes, the reason why I don't really socialize is because, having people like play that whole game of, we want to contact you, we want to invite you out all over this place, that place, and do a bunch of stuff with you, and then all of a sudden they stay away from you. I do understand that's this pattern. It seems very like experimental, right? And so after leaving Murray Family Farms, that's when I just kind of slowly but surely stopped communicating with people. People would contact me via text or whatever, I would just let it go because I felt as though what happened over at the farmer's place was enough. Okay, and then it just dragged on and dragged on and dragged. And it just got darker and darker, and more disrespect was being shown to me, more and more and more and more. So I decided, okay, enough is enough. You know what I mean? And I had to make a decision. So I am not somebody who just wants to sit and accept things, and I'm a complete believer in autonomy. Okay, I believe that my life is this. I developed my philosophy based on my experiences. Okay, how I see the world, what happened to me, how I had no other choice but to navigate in a certain way in order to dodge the hate campaigns and shit like that that were going on against me, okay? But I have always, this has always made me an autonomous person. And apparently, this is the only way for me to be. Okay, and so, I know that people were blocking me. I know that I was blacklisted. I know I had problems on social media. I know that there was someone trying to force me into like marriages and all this other crazy stuff, right? So my point is that right now my goal is to get myself focused. Like if for every setback that these people have caused me, I have to work 10 times harder. Okay, like the whole issue with Patreon. Okay, which I'll go a little bit more into that later. But this is not a rant video of where I'm accusing people or like pointing fingers. But what it is a fact of a person who was basically um, set to be destroyed. Okay, and not just be destroyed. I'm going to say the more I think about it, it seems like with the Joseph Mengele thing and the way that they carried out this experiment, I would put it in the category of ritualistic murder. Why? Because there's the element of religion involved in it. Like somebody systematically carries out little routines, little rituals, meaning like whether they be bullying rituals or setting somebody up to have to hear something through street theater or whatever. It's a systematic form of destroying a person little by little until they reach their goal. Okay, that to me is a very sick, uh, you know, plot to be a part of. So in my mind, um, it honestly, and I mean, it makes sense that I would want to run away from people who abuse me. Now, I know that, I this morning I watched like a YouTube video. Some of the readers were kind of talking about it, and it's like I get tired of my own story. I get tired of it sometimes because um, it's too much. You know what I mean? It's too much. It's like um, the fact that somebody would do something that horrific to another human being in one life and then come right back and do it again. You know what I mean? Um, and then, kind of set up a person to where they would have a very difficult time to survive. But I am definitely somebody who is a person who has been accustomed to being autonomous, okay, for several reasons. And I would never choose another path, okay, because I've been in setups where, because of my reality being like setups and fake people being a part of that. Like, for example, let's just say, for example, I went to the park, right, and I ended up meeting this nice guy, right? There's a chance that that person and I meet at the park deliberately. You know what I mean? There is in my life where I've dealt with being set up and being in arrangements where I was being like targeted or whatever, and you end up finding people or being friends with people that are actually going to abuse you. I've been abused for very many years, okay, and so I have learned that you know I'm going to definitely have trust issues, and I have trust issues that are justified. You know what I mean? And so I know a lot of people, a lot of people, because people like to sugarcoat negative things, and so like if you hear two friends talking about this issue, and somebody would try to sugarcoat this person to try to make it seem like let's make this sound a little bit better, and try to act like it's not that big of a deal, but it is a very big deal. You know what I mean? It's a huge deal what happened to me, and it's something that is going to affect me for the rest of my life. And the fact that it put me so far behind um, in life, because of something I had no control over. I mean, like literally no control over. And um, anyway, I'm somebody who doesn't accept doing nothing. I don't accept doing nothing. Like, I woke up today and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I have a list of things I need to do. Okay. And I've been working on a lot of advertising and experimenting with, you know, visuals mainly, because I want to evolve, okay, and I don't expect to start, have the Swan Song Manifesto to be perfect. Like I said, this is about a person who has literally has to always start from the very bottom. I always have to start from the bottom because every time, I don't know if it's some sort of sick game or maybe it was part of the experiment. To every time you're getting a little bit ahead, they have to knock it down. I do remember when I was younger, my dad would get very nervous, like when he bought an automobile or something, because he always felt as though somebody was going to retaliate. Or like somebody wouldn't like it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you got to have a car. If you don't have a car, you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, if he needed, my dad needed a vehicle, right? See, my dad was one of those old school people where, like, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So I remember like back in like I don't know '76, I think it was '76. He bought this like Suburban, and my dad used to hunt and fish. He was an outdoorsman, and he would keep the like little a kennel that he made himself in the back of his Suburban, and he drove that around many years. Okay, and he just never saw any reason to get a new vehicle. But one time, okay, it was because my sister started driving, and we were getting at the age where we needed to learn how to drive. Anyway, so he ended up buying a car. So it made him very nervous to have it outside. Yeah, and he had made it very nervous because I think that my father realized that people would abuse him for anything. Like if he did something, and people would just step out of line through racism or whatever. And as I got older, I didn't realize just how bullying and how conniving and how what the undercurrent of racism is and how it works and operates. I mean, I understood it existed, but I didn't understand how, whatever. Uh, Covert nature of a program can be. Like, and this is one of the tactics a lot of times people use, in general, not just on black people, but they also use it on, people who they feel like they have control over. For example, you might go over to your friend's house, right? Your so-called friend's house for dinner, and they might have invited you right after you lost your job. And the reason why they invited you after you lost your job is because they're happy and they think it's funny that you fucking lost your job. And deep down inside, it's their little inside joke because they have control over your fate through human trafficking, right? So anyway, yeah, the talk about two-faced people. I mean, that's all I fucking dealt with in my life. So now right now I kept thinking, I need to focus on me. I need to focus on the things I need to do. And so this is all I'm doing. I'm focusing on me, and I really don't have much time to socialize. I don't have much time to socialize. As a matter of fact, I decided to delete my Instagram off my tablet that I look at like during the evening time. And that's not to say that I'm canceling out my Instagram account. It's just that you know what it is. It's just that all of this weird stuff started with Libra 14 on Instagram, and it's just I need a new start. And aside from that, you know what? I can't really interview, and I know people are. I get this really big, strong feeling like where people like they want me to need them, so they in their mind they're like, okay, well, we want you to reach out and do interviews like now. And the thing is, I can't do that now because I have to get myself up to a certain level before I can start, doing that. I don't ever want to think that I'm going to offer somebody something and not be able to pay them at least something. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people. So I would prefer to focus on building up my content and doing that first before I expand. Okay, because this is my thing. It's my business. And see, what I really hated about the network, and I'm not trying to bring it up, but how they would try to have people preside over me, like I wasn't able to do things on my own. Anyway, yes, I'm an autonomous person. I've taken the autonomous path. It's the only path that I choose. I mean, that I have to. I mean, there is no other alternative. The other alternative is for me to commit suicide. That is the only alternative. And I think, it's very hard for me to believe that somebody didn't know that. You know what I mean? This is one of the reasons why I made a good decision to sever those ties. Anyway, um, okay. So, um, I know a lot of people are kind of like surprised about me having opinions about certain things, like life matters, political matters, whatever. And I already went into how I started formulating my opinions, starting from when I was a kid, and then as I evolved and started observing what was going on and whatever. And so, gosh, I don't get involved in those sort of things, but I do understand that what happened in my life was a political issue. Okay, mainly because it was so widespread, and it involved a lot of people, and it took me by surprise. It took me by surprise completely. Okay, I knew that for many years I was dealing with irate people, but I had no idea that like I was like literally a target. Like somebody had it out for me, and anyway, all of it, each little thing that revealed itself, me finding out that my family was involved in it, me finding out that my ex-husband was involved in it, me finding out that everybody I was involved in it, and everybody was turning against me and looking at me as if I was a certain way, turning against me like I was a bad person, right? And I'm thinking, what in the world's going on? I knew something related to brainwashing. I knew that I was dealing with severe brainwashing. I just didn't understand where it was coming from. Okay, but yes, I do have my own views, and my political views are based on my reality and what I've experienced, and which I cannot deny. Right? I have always thought about, and what I believe that my views are is a part of universal law. I mean, when I say universal law, it's like my observation of the situation and my judgment of the situation. Okay, to me is holy. Okay, like to me it is holy. Okay, I'm starting to understand who I am and the kind of spiritual connection that I do have. Okay. Um, I do have my feelings on, my opinions on things like, having children, laws, things like marriage and religion and sex, death, all of those things. Of course, I have my opinions on those things, okay? But, I do understand that we live in a country, and this is how, I've always believed it to be based on what I've read, right? Um, that I have the right to be that way. And I've never tried to shove my belief down anyone's throat. You know what I mean? And I've always been kind of low key about my own beliefs. My beliefs, of course, my entire life is basically about a lot of things. When I talk about the occult, I would also say that there's a lot of research involved in my life. Like I've always found the idea of studying humans um, fascinating to me. Why? Because I want to know what they're most likely to do in certain situations. And when I find out what their choices usually are and I see the outcome of their bad decisions, that also has given me the ability to develop better foresight. So I learned that certain things that people do, I don't want to do. I need something different. And just because, it might be a common thing to do, it might be a popular thing to do, doesn't mean it's a wise thing to do. Look how many people got involved with this. Okay, and see, this is one of the reasons why I believe in setting myself apart, not out of rebellion, but out of the point of, in my philosophy, my view of life, which I have every right to have, that I realize that life here on earth is hell, but the only person who can make it better, okay, of course you have to have a connection to God, but and God can give you messages on how to make that better, but you yourself have to put that in action, okay? And so I choose to do things to give myself relief from that, okay? Things that I have the right to do, all right? And I think that, when you deal with people, see, I was dealt a really bad hand because, I was dealing with people who didn't like me, from the get-go, weren't meant to like me from the get-go, you know, and so they weren't going to treat me very fairly, okay? And mind you, I had no idea that these people, well, some of these people I knew existed, but I didn't know that, you know, I had no idea that they had a vendetta against me. And number two, um, I never would imagine they'd have anything to do with my life at all, right? But anyway, yeah, I do have my own opinions, and I have been thinking about doing some work with that. Not because I believe it should be uh, imitated, because not everybody can imitate my life. My life is very special. Okay, I'm somebody who is basically a very unique individual. I'm a black woman who happens to be a genius, right? Who also happens to be psychic, who also has the ability to affect the material plane. Okay, so this is the reason why some people view me as a deity, a god, a goddess. This is not a fucking joke. Some people really see me this way. Okay, and because of what is in my DNA. So I'm a unique individual. And unique individuals, it's not so much that uh, how I believe uh, makes me so different. The fact is that how I believe on certain issues, like for example, my right to be who I am. Yeah, the law protects me of that. You know what I mean? And for because of this, I have a very live and let live attitude. Like I don't care what other people do as long as they're not hurting other people. You know what I mean? As long as they're not damaging the streets, as long as they're, you know, I mean, I don't care. So for me to be attacked, you know, I was a little bit thrown off, you know, and I really see. And the problem, like I said, is that my forefather, he believed in this concept of America, and my sad part is that I did too. Even though we have laws, you know, to prevent things like hate crimes, that does not stop people from hating you. That's not that, you know, and just, you know, I know that when Martin Luther King was trying to, you know, I guess he wanted like integration. His to me, I can't say that I even agreed with his approach. Not really. I understood where his heart was, but see, I'm just saying is it's like, you know, um, I'm saying is that I've dealt with enough racism in my life, okay, and I know I recognize it. And what happened to me is outright shocking because these people deliberately tried to put me in a position of slavery. Like, you know, it's to me, it's above human trafficking. It's systematically a form of abuse. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to my personal political abuse, yes, I have a view or a philosophy on how I choose to live my life based on what I believe is truth off of, you know, understanding my own experiences. And do I think that the cult has something to do with it? Yes. I'm starting to write out this whole thing, okay? Because when I think of me, myself, as Maria Gordon versus C.B. Briganza, see, C.B. Briganza saw himself as an occultist, and yes, I do see myself as an occultist, okay? But I'm a philosopher as well. But I'm a philosopher based off of my experiences, but a lot of my experiences were found out and understood through the unknown sources. And when I think about like the occult, I do understand that, you know, there is a connection between the study of psychology and the occult. Like, for example, Carl Jung. And I know that people have tried very hard to, you know, debate this whole issue about whether the study of psychology has something to do with the occult. But, you know, when I start doing my research, it kind of does. Okay, we can try and sit here and throw the medicine label on things and try to make it more commercialized and more acceptable. But when you start looking at the root of things, yes, I believe that. Okay, so I'm somebody who appreciates ancient knowledge. I'm somebody who appreciates those things in a modern age. So I'm an odd bird. Okay, so you know, but I do have my views, and I'm going to be sharing them. I'm trying to figure out what's the best way of doing this because I'm thinking about making like an audio book or something along those lines. But we'll see. But right now, that's not going to affect the Swan Song Manifesto. With the thing I'm talking about is I think it needs to be separate and done on like, you know, because there's times where like I'm in my room and I'm just thinking about stuff, but then I can just talk to myself and express my opinion
on certain things and record them and then upload them later. So it doesn't even require any writing really, just other than me referring to my notes. But anyway, yeah, I have my own projects. You know what I mean? I have my own projects. Why? Because I have to continue and hang on to life. Okay, I will tell you that the mundane life that I live, and I think the average person lives, is just not enough. It's not enough to go to a job to be disrespected all the time, and you're not really getting any fulfillment there, right? And then your social circle is all like pathological murders and everything else. Am I supposed to enjoy that? I don't. Okay, so guess what? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start doing stuff that I enjoy, even if it's something like making some finger puppets. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so when it comes to me healing, I'm doing the best I can to heal. Okay, because this is all very shocking to me, like waking up in a fucking nightmare. But anyway, explaining. I was writing down some. Okay. Oh, you know what I was doing? Okay. I was referencing. I was creating another commercial because, I'm a huge CB Berganza fan, right? I'm a huge CB Berganza fan, obviously, because I'm him, and I see myself through his experiences and understand so much about myself just by getting closer to him. You know, but what I have dealt with in my life now, he dealt with similar stuff because of his intellectual abilities. Now, I'm starting to think this whole thing through a lot. I just recently referred to an article where it discussed C.B. Berganza, and it had like an attachment to it. So I take a look at it, and it's an old newspaper article talking about, C.B. Berganza. Hang on a second, let me get some. Anyway, now, throughout this time, I'm reading this, and I have other people who are supposed to be associated with, like, the occult or whatever, occult type associations. They were trying to discredit him in these publications, mainly because, see, at the time in the United States, this is like, okay, I believe slavery ended in 1865 here in the United States, right? And I don't know exactly what year C.B. Berganza stepped foot in the United States, but I do know that he initiated the New Thought movement sometime in the 1920s. So he was already here. Okay, and my grandmother, Louise, at the time, was born in 1910. So he was here around. Wow, yeah, definitely. Okay, so he was good at what he did. He amazed a lot of people by the things that he could do. Okay, so back then, when slavery ended in 1865, okay, white people felt very nervous about the fact that black people had skills. Why? Because white people, and this is not me arguing, okay, but this is the perspective, putting things into perspective, okay. Now, a lot of white people, I'm not saying that they weren't hard workers, okay, but what black people had certain skills. We could make dresses, we can do architecture, we could build, we could do all these sort of things, okay. So now all of a sudden we're free, right? Now, guess where we could get jobs. Okay, so we're going to be looked at as competition, right? So they would do everything they could to prevent us from advancement. Everything. Okay, so like for example, if they would say, oh, you have to be educated to do that. So a lot of black people started their own schools, and a lot of people who lived in rural areas, okay, would resort to things like correspondence schools. Okay, so this is when. Okay, so now we're like, okay, we can get educated now in our own way because we obviously can't go to like a university, right? We're black, right? So they would sit here and say, okay, now we don't like it because of accreditation. We're going to pick it apart because it's not an accredited, it's one of our type schools. Okay, fine. Okay, but this could cause more problems for us. The thing is that we can't, that we had a history of constant setbacks. There was a time in this country where black people couldn't even read. Okay, it was against the law for us to read at one time. Okay, that meant that it was very difficult for us to make any kinds of advancements. So here comes C.P. Braganza, right? He comes into the United States with his special gift. Now, he went to school in England, okay? But apparently he did have something to do with dealing with being educated from distant, because it seemed like his entire world revolved around distance and being in his home, much like my life here in my life as Maria Gordon. Because C.B. Braganza had a mail order business. Okay, he did he got his learning from one of those little schools, right? So they picked him apart. But the point is, I highly doubt they. Uh, what I do believe what they did was they knew good and well he was the real deal. They knew good and well that he knew all his shit. They were copying his shit, and it was a way for them to try to discredit this man. Okay, because like I said, a lot of people study the occult, like a lot of people study psychology, but when you get right down to it, they know nothing about it. Like a lot of people study things like civics, right? And the minute they see something illegal happens in their face, like some white collar person does a white collar crime in front of their face, they don't recognize it as something illegal and something that affects the rest of society. You know what I mean? This is how people are. It's like, okay, they're not fully conscious of what is going on around them. All right. So I can see that people discredited him, but the fact of the matter is, they all stole from him, much like they did in this life. You know what I mean? So, uh, wow, that's amazing. Poor CB. You know what I mean? So people did what they could to disrespect him, much like they did to me in my life. Okay, but then they want to grin at my face, or they want to, I think that I'm accepting of that. I'm not. From all the experience, okay, from all the years going back, before the farmer's place, but from me starting kindergarten, like in the 6 years old here in this life, okay, and then when C.B. Braganza first stepped foot on me here in the United States back in 1910 or so, right, he's only dealt with betrayals, backstabbing, people plotting, stealing from him. Okay, he was stolen from, his shit was stolen when he was captured from Ethiopia. They took his fucking crown. Okay, so when I think about the whole situation, about how people did everything they could to snuff this man out. Okay, just like when I was in school here in my life, these kids bullied me relentlessly. Okay, and then they wanted to come back and penalize me because I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Okay, it's like somebody was always set against me, so I dealt with the hate crime over and over and over again. But yes, I'm learning more about C.B. Braganza. Okay, so the next thing is that people are starting to see me for who I really am. Okay, because when I was younger, don't get me wrong, I have always had deep thoughts. I have always had real thoughts. What I mean, like real thoughts, are thoughts that aren't necessarily warm and fuzzy that make you feel good. I've always been a realist. Always. I've always come to understand that there's a dark side of nature, and people will be as dark as they possibly can if they can get away with it. Okay, and that's no fucking joke, and I'm aware of that. Okay, and because of that, because most people think, oh, that's so and so, they're decent, or stupid farmer guy who's thinking, oh, most people are good. No, they are fucking goddamn not. Okay, and I understand that. So now that people see who I am, so you show yourself to people in different situations. Okay, when I was at school, of course, I have to like, socialize. Okay, and one of the things that did make me relate to other people was my sense of humor. I've always been like somebody who crack jokes. Okay, what else? Or yeah, I think but I do remember so many times when I would talk about things that were spiritual, and I started to realize, okay, people aren't into that, Maria. They're not into it. So I would just not bring it up. So the only time they could really stand being around me was when I was being stupid, or when I was getting drunk, or when I was being belligerent. You know what I mean? That's the only fucking time people hung out with me. Partying usually, okay? When I did have a serious conversation, you know what I was told? You're acting white. That's not a fucking joke. Or if it was a white person being rude, saying some bullshit like that to me, it would be my mom sitting here saying like, oh, that's just over my head, or who do you think you are? That kind of look, kind of, kind of stuff. So guess what? Most of the time, I spent my time with my own thoughts. And the only time I really did have conversations is when, okay, I'm either partying, right, with somebody or whatever. So that part of me doesn't need to be shown to most people. And then I never realized that I even had to be put in a situation where I had to even express my feelings. Okay, and I understand, like, because unfortunately this got started as a religious issue. Okay, so I get this feeling that there's some people who are sitting here talking because they're surprised that this is who I am. They are very surprised at who I am because I know a lot of people wanted to kind of point me out to be. I've heard the word bimbo, right? Because some people think that people only get dressed up and take care of themselves because they only care about attracting the opposite sex, having love relationships. No, you know what I believe in? I believe in solving the problem holistically. Holistically meaning solving your problem from the inside and out. Eating things that take care of yourself, okay? And doing that inside and out. Your food, your clothes, everything. Okay? Balance. Okay? And I believe this 100%. I mean, I don't think I'm beautiful, no, okay? But because I have a different philosophy than other people, this is what I follow. Okay, and I believe that balance is essential for human life. So, what else? Oh yeah, I do think that I get the feeling because I am surprising people because, like I said, when you're being bullied, and I was bullied many years, okay, many years. Okay, when you're bullied as a kid, people, like I said, they only want to see a certain part of you. If you try to initiate a conversation that they're not comfortable with or they think a black person shouldn't be talking about because they saw all these black TV shows and the person on that show didn't act like that. So you're sitting here talking about this, and the other thing, and you're kind of throwing them off a little bit. Because they don't expect that to come out of your mouth. Okay? But when it does come out of it, then they get a little shocked. Okay, yeah, people like me exist. All right? They do. So, what else did I want to say? Something had something to do with my. Well, I'm just going to move on from that subject. I'll figure it out later. I hardly slept last night. Anyway, people believe that I have every right to keep up with my projects. Yeah, it's what keeps me going. You know what I mean? I feel like that is the only thing that keeps me going. You know what I mean? I can tell you that so much inside of me has changed since this whole thing. I see people differently. Um, my entire world changed. You know what I mean? And I don't have anything in my heart other than the drive for what I need to accomplish here on Earth. That's it. You know what I mean? It's like this program, this person, this thing, this entity, this whatever evil that I'm casting itself over my life took out everything in my life, including any sort of fucking real emotional feeling that I had. It completely destroyed it. Okay, you brought this fucking evil, and see, I have this issue with, this whole issue got started off with a religious issue, right? Which was the biggest mistake, right? Because, and I'm not somebody to point fingers, and I know that people, it made me out to be a controversial figure because of my race and for who I come out to. Okay, the whole issue is that, I believe strongly in my belief system, okay? And I'm not saying that my belief system is for everyone. One of the things that, C.B. Berganza, somebody who didn't fit in, but the only time it seems like he did connect with people was when it related to the occult. I know that he, when I was reading about him, he, kind of like assumed different identities, like when he was around, and probably because he enjoyed their rituals, probably because it was a part of him, a little bit of him that he saw in indigenous people or whatever, that he's like, oh wait, this makes me feel like, even a Hindu, even a small, even if it's not the same thing, it's just the fact that there's some sort of spiritual connection that he sees being practiced that kind of resonates with him because it's something that he had at one time that was torn from him. You see what I mean? And because he's not in his homeland, he's going to try to find his sense of self in every little fucking thing that he can see and he can get his hands on. That's a part of survival. You either adapt or you don't. Okay? So, anyway, yeah, I do have the right to keep up with my projects. I'm just really sorry this whole thing happened. Flipping it over. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So that another message that came over to me. I know that people did harass him, and they would steal from him throughout his entire life, and had no regard for CB Braganza as a person. They brought toxicity into his every existence. Even ended up, making his soulmate in his past life become toxic. Uh, Towards him because of the infiltration. This is how sick that stuff is. Um, I mean, I think the tactics that are used in mind control are very heavy. Um, and it's very hard for a lot of people, especially back then, to deal with somebody who was a very smart person. You know what I mean? And people have always thought that, your intellectual abilities come through the education system. This is the stupidest thing, okay? This is the stupidest thing because in this situation, you can tell that it doesn't, okay? This situation proves so much, okay? CB Braganza was the real deal. He was the real deal, okay? And because of his color, other people took advantage of him. Okay, and this is why I find it like C.D. Berganza's soul was not at rest because it was so just outright wicked what he experienced. Okay, so people throughout the years, I believe even in England is where these stories about him like are just like really persistent from what I feel on a psychic level. Talk about him haunting people or people seeing apparitions of him or whatever, and the reason why is because he felt like he needed to have closure. Is why because he was not at peace for that sort of injustice. Like he knew that he deserved more in life, and people set him up for failure in a very malicious way. It's just sad. But anyway, um, oh okay. The other message I got is that people want me to do wig reviews, and I really have not been wearing like wigs lately. But I do have a bunch of wigs in my closet that have been stacked up on my shelf because I accumulate them, meaning like, I try them on and to see if they work and if I mean, I don't really have the opportunity to go out and like wear wigs or anything, but I do have them. So I wouldn't mind trying them on, I guess, in the future. But yeah, I know it was a controversial issue about me wearing wigs to work. And like that to me is like mind your own business. Sorry, I mean it is. It's like you overstep your boundaries on a human being. You know what I mean? It's like so this is somebody who felt as though I had no rights. That's what it was. Okay, and it's very scary. Anyway, yeah, it's food for thought, and I just want to do that. But anyway, and actually, I might start doing it pretty soon because, like I said, I have to reschedule my plans when it comes to working on the Swan Song Manifesto, mainly because I'm so many months behind. Okay, they financially hurt me several times, and now I'm trying to get myself back up. And now, before I even introduce myself to celebrities, what I need to do is start rearranging my content. You know what I mean? And this is something I have to work on. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be somebody who who expects people to do things favors for me and not give them anything to return. Okay? Because at this point, I can't assume that these people are my friend, and I don't think there really should be that sort of friendship when it comes to business arrangements. Meaning, it's a long story, but I just feel as though people should be compensated, and that's just the way it is. Okay? So anyway, I got a message that I should stop posting to Patreon, which is something I had already mentioned, and I am. I am not going to be posting to Patreon. I am trying to meditate on to whether or not I should close out the account or not. And the reason is because I don't know. I mean, I personally get the feeling that I've earned money on Patreon. And I also get the feeling that perhaps maybe Libra 14 could have possibly stolen it from me or something. I don't, there's a part of me that doesn't really want to know. because I'm at a point right now where it's like you shouldn't have ever even gotten near my stuff in the first place for me to have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I can't really get over that. You know what I mean? That somebody would touch my things like that. Like it just that right there. After dealing with the workplace mobbing, after leaving Murray Family Farms, and everything else, by doing that, I can't tell you the fear that that put in me. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about. I mentioned it earlier about me wanting to, um, talk about certain subjects that are interesting to me or my personal views, okay? And like I said, since people want to know, and it seems like it's interesting to people, I figure I might as well go ahead and do that. And this is in no way me saying that everybody has to live like this. Like I said, not everybody can. And not everybody can. Why? Because my situation is different. I was put in an experiment that was meant to kill me, that was meant to make it so that I would have absolutely no resources available to me whatsoever. Okay, I mean this is what this program is. Okay, so um, I I do have my opinions, and I think what I would probably call it is my vision series. Okay, which I will be working on little by little in increments. But I'm trying to figure out where I should post them all. I don't know if it's possible to have two Kofi accounts or how does that work. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I will figure it out. I will figure it out. Okay, I am an autonomous woman. Okay, I get a feeling that a lot of people do think that I don't want to deal with people or I find humans worthless. Like I said, it's the fact that I've dealt with so much abuse in the past that it's been very hard for me to feel like who I could, just feel like I can't really trust people at this point. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm being realistic because I've dealt with so much betrayal. You know what I mean? And because of the experiment was based on something like murder, basically ritualistic murder is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to pretty much feel, I mean, I'm justified in the way that I feel. So, right, like I said, right now, I don't have it in me to socialize right now until I feel as though I'm at a certain level. And then I will start socializing. This is what needs to be understood with people, and I'm sure it probably is. Also, oh, okay. I'm trying to understand that because of CD's begins. This is the hypocritical part, right? Okay, because of the thing that's the issue of CB Briganza coming in. Secretly, they knew that he started the new thought movement, right? So we had all these people who jumped on the bandwagon, like uh, Keonce and who's that other person? I put him in like my video. Ellen White, right? Ellen White. Some of these people took his views and incorporated it into their own religion. Like I know people like Aleister Crowley, his Thelema religion. That's one. It's a form of spirituality, but that's one religion, right? And then we have Seventh Day Adventists, which are considered to be a part of the Christian denominations. Now I know in my targeting, I was bullied and I was ostracized, and I remember some of my main bullies were Seventh Day Adventists. Really? Yeah, mind blowing, right? So you're sitting here. What I'm telling you is a lot of time, most of the time, religion is an offshoot of the occult. The occult has always come first. It is what it is. Okay, religion is man-made, and it is what it is. Okay, so I am not in any way saying that I have ever against any religion or anything like that. It's unfortunate that I was attacked in the manner that I was, and I didn't even realize that people was holding all that against me and all this other stuff. I was sitting here like chilling out in the United States of America, thinking I wasn't doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? So whatever. But yeah, he did, and so people thought, uh, this is the mindset of people and a part of the brainwashing. Like, yeah, Maria's so bad, blah 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 blah, and we're gonna bully her, but they go to the Seventh Day Adventist church. And like I said, or any other sort of church that may or religious group that may have or at one time been inspired by C.B. Briganza. So it's a lot of hypocrisy or this split mind type thing. You know what I mean? I do also believe that who else was that person? Uh, L. Ron Hubbard. I'm not saying he is for sure, and I bet you if I was to sit here and do some sort of studying or meditation on it, he may not have like been an outright copycat of Steve Draganza, but he probably was most likely inspired by him in some degree. Okay, so anyway, because there's a little bit of a weird timeline when it comes to him and L. Ron Hubbard, but still. Okay, I also get the feeling that people think that I should give tarot lessons, and I want to talk about tarot controversy or divination controversy. I get the feeling that some tarot readers online, because some people are trying to make this like a religious war, okay, and it's getting very scary with what people are doing. It's like when you sit here and like pick apart people's. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, when it comes to tarot cards, so people have mixed feelings about it. Okay, and in the Bible, it talks about not participating in certain forms of divination, but yet it shows that in some scriptures that's exactly what they're doing. Okay, and then some people say, okay, well, we can accept this, but we can't accept that. That's up to your own conscience. Okay, that's one of the reasons why we have different religious denominations. Okay, that's exactly why we have different religious denominations, especially Christian denominations. There's Christians that believe that they're totally fine with playing with tarot cards, and there's some of them that are just like no. Okay, now from an occultist point of view, I'm going to say that I understand what chaos is, like energies around us. I don't believe that things are just coincidence. Okay, like when you pick a certain card or whatever, or like a stack of cards like fall on the floor, you'll notice if you're playing cards or you start to understand tarot cards or whatever, you'll notice like the cards that fall on the floor that are face down really don't have that much significance, but the ones that face up are. So there's certain energies that I'm just aware of. I'm aware that there is like this unseen force. Some people call it God. Some things that people call it a form of God. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Whatever it is. Okay. Some people think that there's some religions that think that it's okay to get downloads, but they don't think it's okay to actually bring in a tool of divination. That's your choice. Okay. Like I said, the Bible doesn't sit here and mention the word tarot cards. It doesn't mention things like what do you call it? I Ching and all this other stuff, okay? But it does mention some form of, I know it talks about necromancy and stuff like that, some dark stuff, okay? Some people, when it comes to this issue, it's like, well, you know what? Use it on your conscience. Is it okay with your conscience? Do you have any issue with do you feel as though it's blocking you spiritually in any way? Okay? Because if it is, it just might not be for you. Okay, but I hear like I'm starting to get feelings that people are starting to point the finger. Oh, so and so is into tarot cards and they're holding it against somebody. Look, you know what I mean. Here's the thing. Why is it that somebody is pointing the finger at somebody playing the tarot cards? Is it because it's pagan and heathen? Mind you, the days of the week are heathen. Mind you, your Christmas holiday that you sit here and think is Jesus' birthday is actually originally from something that's what they call pagan or heathen. This is what I'm saying. It's like, okay, if you're going to sit here and do that and start chiseling that down, you need to start looking at yourself. But, it's not, you don't even have to look at yourself. You need to understand, the law and just knock it off. Okay, knock it off already. Okay, people have the right to do that if they want to. Okay, and it's really, it's based on their own conscience at this time, okay? Because we all know that people call themselves Christian, but each denomination has their own view on each subject matter, okay? There's some Christian denominations that are fine with interracial marriages, and there's some Christian denominations that really aren't comfortable with that. Okay, and that's her choice to be that way. Okay? It is what it is, okay? And if you can't handle it, well, I don't know what to tell you, but we don't have people who can, we don't have to cater to anyone. If something like attacking them, okay? So tarot to me is like, I personally felt a little safer with my own intuitive downloads. But I remember there was a time when I bought tarot cards back in the 90s, and I had them for a while, and I'll pull them out every once in a while, okay? I've been pulling them out a lot in the last few months because I've been wondering about, not so much my tarot cards, but mostly my playing cards, which is the same sort of thing, okay? Cartomacy, tarot cards, it's all pretty much the same thing. They're just on different forms of cards. They have their meanings, their way of interpreting them or whatever. It's a form of fortune telling. It is what it is, okay? But, that's up to the individual personally. I know like there are some Christians like who would reference the issue where Jesus' clothes were like gambled away, like they were gambling or what they call it casting lots. So there are certain Christians that wouldn't gamble on Sunday. Now they didn't eliminate that issue completely, like like abstain from it, but they would say okay, at least well, okay on Sunday we just won't gamble on that day because lot casting is very similar to what dice. It's not the same thing, but the modern day version of lots would probably be what dice, right? So, but a lot of people have dice in their home. They have them in their board games and everything else. Okay, does that mean they're evil? No, I'm just telling you that these things that we have in our everyday life do have their origins, and generally these origins are from the occult. That's just the way it is. Okay. So anyway, okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is that I am having a contest on my Ko-fi channel. Okay, so if you guys would like to, join Ko-fi, I would greatly appreciate it. I would appreciate your help as much as you possibly can. But it's more so of the fact that I feel as though I'm doing my best to provide entertainment, especially under like these weird circumstances of me dealing with all this nightmare. What I'm doing is I am create a new video. It's called Spiral Cakes, and in the video I'm talking about creating 3 different kinds of spiral cakes. Okay, this is all about people who have that skill of baking. So, and I'm going to leave the description in the I'm just going to put the link in the description box. And for now, I am going to wrap this one up. Take care. Bye bye.